the staff or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Good morning and welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. That's us, TalkTainmentRadio.com. You are now in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. We have a outstanding program for you today. Today's topic is going to be an excerpt from Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, which absolutely coincides with the things that Mr. Fuller has said. The topic today is going to be why interracial relationships are promoted so heavily. And it's about a 3.5-minute clip that we will play, and then we will have Mr. Fuller respond or speak about it, and we will take your calls and your Gmails. Now, to get in contact with the show, call 1-877-932-9766. You can also Gmail me, and we are loaded right there. The Gmail address is the numero number 7, Mr. BOBBY @gmail.com. Now, you can also do this. You can actually watch the program by going to the YouTube channel and typing in the word Talktainment. Hit the space bar, then type in the word radio, scroll down to Talktainment number 2, live on YouTube, where you can watch the live broadcast. While you're there, hit the subscribe button and the like button. And this is the way that we would prefer that you do this, and we're going to hit this baby real hard. Go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and then hit Listen Live. Listen Live. And then the podcast will come down. You can see where Mr. Fuller's show is on Wednesdays. And by the way, you can download that. And in addition, at 10 p.m. tonight, you can hear the entire broadcast. And we do broadcasts 24 hours a day. So that's the way that you can get in contact with the show. And I think that's all the particulars. Oh, in the second hour, I think we will have a special announcement. Okay. Let me do this before I introduce Mr. Fuller. Are we queued up for Francis? All right. This is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing.
You see, we have to do some very hard thinking about what really is going on. It's just like, looking at TV and seeing all of the commercials that now have black men with white women in commercials. Say, well, why is this taking place? See, every black woman who's looking for a husband and looking for a black husband should say, wait a minute, for some reason the media is promoting black men should be with white women. Well, I'm looking for a husband. I would like to, I'm saying this is what a black female could say. I'm looking for a husband, but why is the media constantly showing black men with white women? There must be a reason. And I say the reason is that perhaps the system has decided, even though there is a fundamental concern about white genetic annihilation, perhaps the system has thought about, well, during slavery, the black female was raped by the white slave master. So the children that came from that union had a black mother. The black mother would tell the child, "You're black." But now we can have a different kind of mindset when the mixed race child has a white mother, and the first breast in the baby's mouth is a white breast. And so they are born into a system of racism, white supremacy. And so the white mother tells the child, "You're not black. You're mixed race." Now, she's got a black husband, but she's saying to the black child, "You're not black." So she's indicating that she doesn't approve of black, or there's something wrong with black. And so then that child grows up with that experience, and many times, or certainly sometimes, that child can be a useful tool to use against black people, because the child really doesn't have positive. It grows up to an adult person who really doesn't identify deeply with black. See, black people, some black people have complained about President Obama, that it seems to be very difficult for him to say, he can talk about it's important that the gay, lesbian, and transgenders not be discriminated against, that the women not be discriminated against, that the Hispanics not be discriminated against. It's very difficult for President Obama to directly say and focus on what is specifically happening to black people. Now, is that a result of his mother being white? Do you see? And so I don't really want to talk about my mother, and so I don't want to really talk about racism, white supremacy. So I just raised that question.
Okay. There you have the voice of the late Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and she and Mr. Fuller have done, I guess you could say, conferences or talks, not together, but they were together at in the same room. She focuses on one side, Mr. Fuller focuses on another aspect of it. And it's very powerful because it coincides with our topic today, which is why interracial relationships are promoted so heavily. Let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And as we do every week is our custom, we say, good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
You are still learning. On that little 3-minute and 38-second excerpt by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, what could you glean from that in regards to the attack on black people by this system of racism, which is white supremacy?
Oh, I didn't hear a presentation. I wasn't hooked up correctly in order to hear that.
Okay.
I just vaguely hear her voice. I didn't know what she was saying.
Yeah, she was talking.
But I hope that the audience picked up everything that she was saying.
Okay.
The general audience. I didn't pick it up on this perception.
What she was basically talking about, giving her reason, her suggestions as to why interracial relationships are being promoted so heavily. Why interracial relationships are being promoted so heavily. Well, since you didn't hear it, what would be your reason to think or that interracial relationships are being promoted so heavily in the system of racism, white supremacy?
Oh, to cause confusion. In the textbook for victims of white supremacy, that is racial, that comes under racial showcasing and racial sexual confusion, both of them. And what is really is no such thing as interracial, because there's only one race, and that's the white race. Belonging to a race serves no purpose except to mistreat people based on color. That's all it's good for. No one should belong to a race of people. Why? Because the purpose of race is to practice racism. purpose in racism is to dominate and mistreat people based on the factors of color, non-color. That's the only purpose it has. Dominate and mistreat in order to gain fun, glory, and material benefit. That's what the classifications of white, non-white, white supremacists, all manufactured by the white supremacists for that purpose. So there's no such thing as interracial relationships. What it is just another form of domination of people in the system of white supremacy who are classified as non-white. If you're classified as black, brown, red, yellow, tan, beige, anything under the non-white categories, you are subject to the system of white supremacy anywhere on the planet 24/7. And so-called interracial relationships, that's just a facade that the white supremacists dreamed up. And they surface it and emphasize it at different periods of time in order to make non-white people think that racism has gone away. That's all it's good for. You see a white person walking down the sidewalk holding hands like you do in the Northwestern Hemisphere nowadays, a lot of it. You see a lot of it. And if you pay attention in a crowd, if it's a white person with a non-white person, now you'll see just general people just walking. I mean, just people just walking along, even in this 5 or 6 people in a group. They're just walking, and talking and whatnot. But if you pay strict attention, in many cases, not in all, if one of the persons, if it's 2 people walking, and one of the persons is what you would classify as a white person, and the other person is classified as a non-white person, and they are in supposedly some type of sexual relationship, or appears to be, male with female, for instance, many cases you will see them holding hands, where you don't see ordinary people ordinarily just walking along holding hands, even if they are in, let's say, a white male with a white female, and they are in what you call, quote, unquote, romantic relationship. Most of the time, sometimes they're holding hands, most of the times they're not. Or a black male with a black female, and they're walking along. Every now and then you'll see them holding hands. Most of the time, not. They're just walking and talking to each other. But if it's a so-called interracial relationship, particularly a white person, a white male with a black female, you'll see that hand holding. They're sending a message. They're saying, look at us. We're liberal. We're all about each other. We are madly in love, et cetera, et cetera. That is what the message that I say that they're trying to send. But it's all showcasing.
Okay.
And most people who will look at that, if you walk down, say a boardwalk, a leisurely type setting on a seashore, and you see what you might call a white, non-white couple, white man with a so-called Asian female, okay? And you'll see them walk a few paces, and then turn and look at each other and hold hands and maybe hug or something like that. Showcasing. That's what the code calls that. Mm-hmm. Now, what's the effect of that? A non-white person looking at several people walking down a crowded boardwalk doing that, it gives you the illusion that the whole world is getting like that.
Okay.
It's just 2 or 3 couples. Keep that in mind. That's all that's going on there. out of millions and millions and millions. But it gives you the illusion that what? The race problem has been solved.
Okay.
If you just see 2 or 3 couples, see, you don't count the couples, but if you, it's so unusual, if you see it that way, you get the illusion that, oh, this whole place, I mean, black people and white people are all together. They're all about each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're all in love with each other. I mean, there's no race problem in this place. I saw it with my own eyes. All you actually saw was 5 or 6 couples in a whole day in a very crowded situation. That's all you saw. That's not the general pattern at all.
Okay. This excerpt, which you say that you did not hear completely, was and is entitled "Why Interracial Relationships Are Promoted So Heavily" by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. And I have taken note before I got into this, even as a topic, that I've been noticing, and I don't know about you, Mr. Fuller, but I've been noticing commercials all promoting, as you just said, this so-called pseudo-racial harmony. I was looking at one last night as I was researching this by the PSA, by the American Heart Association, where they had a white guy with a black woman and 2 biracial children. I've seen it in national commercials by national companies that I'm not going to name that promoting their product. And one of the things that Dr. Welsing said was, she asked what you said, that according to the code, what we should ask. She asked questions. Why is this being done? And she indicated or suggested that the system of white supremacy decided that during slavery time, when black women were raped, the black mother told the child that she carried and had that the child was black. But somebody at some point made a decision that a white mother with a black man began to tell the child that the child was white. And she said that something was wrong with that. And she discovered through her research that one of the probable problems was that the white supremacists made a decision to use this as a useful tool, these were her words, a useful tool against black people. What say you to that?
Well, I can't really comment directly. That comes under VGQ on what Dr. Welsing said.
Understand.
But the main thing is, like I have in my book, and what I've said for years, it's all a part of the white supremacist plan of confusion through illusion. Confusion through illusion. In other words, it's to confuse the non-white people. That's all it's for. It's not for anything else. It's to cause more confusion. Why? Because the system of white supremacy, the strength of it, is to always cause confusion in the minds of their subjects. That's the core of their strength.
Yes.
They use brute force, and in the modern day, they use it sparingly compared to what they do in the confusion issue. The tricks that they play on the mind cause confusion among these millions, these billions of non-white people. Any kind of confusion, and particularly sexual confusion. You want maximum sexual confusion at all times. I mean, out there. Because when you confuse people sexually, you can confuse them very easily in everything else, in all of the other areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, war, even. Just grab hold to their sexuality and confuse them in every way that you can. I mean, mix and match, cause all types of gender confusion in the minds of the non-white people of the planet. See, and part of this is have this illusion of a black male walking along, smiling and hugging and on a white woman and whatnot in public, and they all, starry-eyed and all like this, and or even if they're just acting natural. I mean, we're just a natural family and all like that. The white supremacists very strategically have figured out we used to didn't allow that at all. I mean, that was a no-no in many places, absolutely taboo. In particular, if it's a black male with a white female, oh, heaven forbid. I mean, you get strung up with the crowd coming from everywhere, people pouring in from everywhere, jumping off the backs of trucks. I mean, to see the lynching, bringing picnic baskets and whatnot. Oh, I mean, he touched that white woman. He touched her. He brushed up against her. Oh, that's a capital offense worldwide. Oh, string him up immediately and bring everybody to look at this. It's never supposed to happen, not even by accident. Okay? Then, over a period of time, they say, hey, the cost of doing the business of deception in running the system of white supremacy is going up. So therefore, we have to have a limited number of white females spread out all over the world. This is a mission. Their mission is capture the minds, particularly of the intellectual.
Yes.
Non-white male, particularly black males, all over. Those who are aspiring, those who are trying to get ahead, whatnot. Go over there, take off your underpants and put on a miniskirt and walk into an office and jump immediately in his lap. All right? And start giving him the gospel of the white world. And he will be so dazzled by it, he'll be so blitzed by it, like a blitz rig, all right, a sexual blitz rig, that he'll be completely off guard. And by him being a black leader, he'll just lead all the other black people to say, hey, everything is rosy. Just look at me. This is great. I mean, hey, would you imagine this? Hey, we done got over. We have been delivered. Hallelujah. Whoopee. All right?
Yeah.
And that's what that's for,
right,
if I have answered your question.
Okay, that's okay.
But they are in control of it. See, don't forget that. The white supremacists are in control of every move that is being made in this direction.
All right, let me be in control of this. TalkToHimAtRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as what's in the news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's one that I am going to share with you. It's called All in the Family with S. Yolanda Robinson. If you haven't heard that program, you need to hear that and glean some insight on what All in the Family really means. Now, it is exclusive to TalkToHimAtRadio.com. All you have to do is go to the TalkToHimAtRadio.com homepage and hit Listen Live. That's very important. Listen Live. Then scroll down and find that program, All in the Family with host S. Yolanda Robinson. Hit that and then give it a listen, a good scrutiny, and see if you like it or not. As a matter of fact, all of the programs that TalkToHimAtRadio.com carries, you can access from going to that homepage and hitting the Listen Live button. And, the podcasts are there. Even Mr. Fuller's show, which you can access today and in a replay tonight at 10 o'clock. But S. Yolanda Robinson's show, All in the Family, is right there, along with the other programs that are exclusive to TalkToHimAtRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. Our topic today, and the phone lines are open, 1-877-932-9766, is an excerpt by Dr. Frances Cress Wells, in which we played at the beginning of the program, why interracial relationships are being promoted so heavily. And I myself have seen this, and wondering what's going on. But we are taking your phone calls and Gmails. And here is a Gmail, Mr. Fuller. This person says, I hope this mail finds you well. Mr. Fuller, it says, how can we replace the system of white supremacy racism with a system of justice if we're locked into their system using their money, their languages, and almost everything that they say they own and are the authors of? How can we do this?
With a counter-racist code. That's all I can say. I say it every week. The missing link is we don't have a counter-racist code that's addressed to individual persons in all 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. You have to cover all areas of activity. Who covers it? Each and every individual person classified as non-white. You have a code. We're supposed to be building a code. That's the missing link. We don't have one. For what is a code? What you do and what you don't do. What you say and what you don't say. That's all a code is. A political code. A religious code. Doing and saying. That's all it is. What you do and what you say. And what you don't do and what you don't say. And you have a code for everything that comes up. Particularly, it will come up in the form of a problem. Non-white people have tons and tons of problems. Black people have tons and tons of problems. So you have a code to help you solve each and every problem that comes up each and every day, because you'll have plenty of them.
Yes.
Small problems, large problems. So you say, okay, this is the problem I'm having today on the job. What do I do? We're going to a meeting down the hall. What do I say when I get to the meeting? And what is it I make sure that I don't say when I get to that meeting? You have to have a code for that. That's what I've tried to write in the code book, the Compensatory Counter-Racist Code, to give us a basic guide. It's not a complete code. There's no such thing as a complete code until what? All problems are solved. But in answer to the question, that's what is needed. It's right in front of us. And the first thing that black people should do that would go a long ways, I mean, this would be a huge jump.
Yes, sir.
You don't make contact with anybody unless you have already figured in advance that that contact is going to produce a constructive result. I mean, that would go, I mean, like, if we did this right this minute and decide we're going to do that all over the world, put away that cell phone right away, or take out the cell phone. If you're going to make a contact with anybody, you think well in advance, when I complete this contact, when I complete this conversation, something very constructive is going to have happened.
Yes, sir.
As a result of it. Otherwise, I am not talking to anybody about anything unless I pretty well know that it's going to result in something very, very constructive for me, for the other person, or for both of us. Otherwise, why make the contact?
Yes, sir.
No contact, no conflict. That's the essence of problem solving.
Okay.
And if we just did that, no kind of contact. Now, that means that's something that we are not used to. We are used to just making all kinds of contacts, and just hope that the contacts work out.
Okay.
And usually it's a huge mess.
It's a huge
Every contact we make is a mess.
Okay.
We're known for that.
Let me leave that right there. Mr. Fuller, this is an email, and I'm going to have to break it up a little so that we can get the main point across. But in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a young man was shot by police after jumping out of a car and running away. Mr. Fuller has authored a book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a textbook for workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, white supremacy. In Area 5, which is the law, pages 154 to 155, I think he condenses, but this is what it said. If you are confronted by a suspected race soldier pretending to be a police officer, immediately go into danger mode. Regard yourself as being captured and completely helpless as a prisoner of war. Explanation. As a prisoner of war, it is best to act as if you are a soldier captured in a greatly fortified territory. If confronted by a suspected race soldier, consider yourself as being captured because you have been. As a non-white person, in most situations, you are regarded as a criminal and a dangerous animal, an enemy soldier, an escaped convict, etc. Your existence is in danger. If you're told to put your hands up, and this is in the book, then put them up. Answer yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, ma'am. Be courteous, because do not fight, resist, name call, or talk about your rights. You may explain them at a later date. Mr. Fuller, you wrote that in the book on page 154 and 155. This young man, I understand, did jump out of the car. Apparently, he wasn't involved in what had happened, but he jumped out of the car and ran, and they shot him in the back. What say you to this?
I say people should read page 154 and 155 under Area 8 of Law, L-A-W, in the textbook for victims of white supremacy. And if you don't have a book, just remember one thing, or rather three things that are really one thing. When you're confronted with anybody who has what you call law enforcement capacity, I'm talking about a confrontation.
Yes, sir.
Where they're approaching you. Three things keep in mind, but those three things are really one thing. They all welded together. Don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee. Don't do any one of those three things, or a combination of those three things. Fuss, then start a fight, and then start running. And why not do these things? Because you are going to lose. You've already been captured. Where are you going? You can't run far enough to find something to step on. Not on the planet dominated by the white supremacists. Where are you going? To the middle of the ocean, the bottom of the ocean, going out of space? You're going to run that far? Because you better be prepared to run that far, because that's how far you're going to have to run if you think you can get away from them, if they really want you. Now, the only reason they don't get you is because they stop chasing you. That's a decision that they make, not you. So what are you going to fuss for after you stand there in the middle of the street proving your point? Who are you proving it to that can help you do anything? There's nobody around there can help you do something. I don't care what kind of crowd forms. All they're going to be doing is yelling and screaming and whatnot. They can't do anything either. I mean, they got to have a house and a job and whatnot. If they all come in there screaming and yelling and whatnot, turning over cars and whatnot, when they find out who did that, they are going to be locked up right along with you. So they can't be any help. These are fellow prisoners. We are all in prison. If you're a person of color, you're in a prison, and the name of that prison is called the system of white supremacy. And it is worldwide. There's nowhere you can go on the planet to escape them if they want you. The only reason they don't get you when you say, well, I got away. You got away because they stopped chasing you. You know, they just gave up. They figured they'll get you, you know, because you're going to do something else. You're going to be out there driving again and whatnot. 5 years later, whatever. You know, they don't really care. If they really care, they'll get you right now.
Yes, sir.
All right? If they, I mean, they can turn out, they got armies that they can turn out and catch you. They got all kind of electronic equipment they can get you. All right? See, so don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee. Now, if you choose to do any one of those things, and I'm going to say this over and over again because it keeps happening. If you choose to fuss, fight, or flee, make up your mind before you do any one of those things that you are going to be dead in 5 minutes. Make up your mind. Make up your mind. Put that in your mind like cement. I'm going to run. Oh, okay. Go ahead, run. Okay, run. All right. Be happy with that. Okay? And you're going to be dead in 5 minutes in my prison, which is the whole world. You're in my world. I'm not in yours. I own the world. You don't own nothing. Not even them sneakers that you got on that you worship so much. And you think you can run from me in those sneakers? You're going to have some super sneakers to get away from me. Because you can't get to Mars, and I can't get you. All right? If you're a person of color. That's the white supremacists talking.
Yes, sir.
And they are not bluffing. Mm-hmm. And they prove that they are not bluffing. Every time you hear those 9mm and 44 caliber magnums that we all worship when we are using them, but when they are using them, you better believe they got plenty of it. They can take you down and all your uncles and cousins and gang members if they want to.
If they want to. Okay.
Don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee, fellas. You know, I have to beg you to do that. I mean, you know, but you think that you can do it and that pleasant things are going to happen. No.
No.
That's going to quadruple your troubles. Or they're going to see to it you don't ever have any troubles again at all. Why? Because you're not going to exist.
Yeah, you'd be dead.
And that's happening even as we speak right now.
Yes, sir.
Somebody's jumping out of the car, running up an alley.
Yes,
that
sir.
is not a smart thing to do. You ain't going nowhere. Up under somebody's porch with a dog tearing at your legs, you might as well just stand there and say, you know, consider yourself a captive prisoner.
Yeah.
You are a slave to the system of white supremacy. That's what you are. And everybody that you know that can help you and is willing to help you is a slave to the same system. Oh, yeah, we'll get out there and, you know, after you're dead and put some flowers on a fence. Black people should have a monopoly on flowers and balloons and candles.
Or teddy bears.
We really should. I mean, we should have warehouses full of them.
Yeah.
Because we buy more of that than we do anything. Get some more flowers, some more teddy bears, find a raggedy fence to put them on, and then get out there and hug each other while the gunfire is going on 2 blocks away, even while we're out there hugging.
Yeah.
Somebody else just got hit in the back. I mean, we ought to stop that nonsense.
Yes, sir.
Stop fussing, stop fighting, stop fleeing. It ain't going to work. That's why.
All righty, let's do this. I want to take a moment to pause just for a second to remember what happened almost a year or over a year ago at the Mother Emanuel Church, I believe in South Carolina, where Dylan Roof killed 9 members. I think it was a year ago today, 9 members of that parish. Greater Mother Emanuel Church, 9 dead, murdered, shot dead by Dylan Roof. Just want to remember them this week. Or just for a second. Mr. Fuller, at this particular time, which is 45 minutes after the hour, we have this time designated for you to speak about your book. Could you please take a few minutes and speak about your book?
A lot of the people have asked about the book, and a lot of the people, I guess, read the book, but then a lot of people don't have the book. That's the best vehicle that I know. When I'm on this program, I am limited. So I tried to put as much as I could into the pages of a book called The Textbook for Victims of White Supremacy. It has a major title called the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, which is explained in the book, but that wouldn't mean anything immediately. The immediate title, explicit title, is a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of white supremacy. And it's directed toward every victim individually. And you don't have to check with anybody. You don't have to even follow anything that is said in the book. And the book says that. You look at the book and you pick out the things that will work for you as an individual person. And I believe that if enough people pick out enough things, not just what Neely Fuller has written, but anything that works in any area of activity, any time of day, anything that works for you and not against you, is a part of what I call the counter-racist code. You can get the book, the basic book, and also the word guide, which is just an addition to the basic book, by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. Just those words, producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the basic book and the additional word guide and the method for ordering. Most people get the basic book, which is what I recommend, because the other book is just an addition. If once you get the basic book, or you can get both books at the same time and have them, and hopefully they will help you to do what? 2 words: solve problems as an individual.
Yes, sir.
In every area of activity, hopefully. That's my intent. If it doesn't help you to solve problems, the book is no good to you, period. If it doesn't help you to solve problems, the book has a significant price on it, both volumes individually. But I hope some people have said that it's definitely worth it because it helps them to do what? Solve problems. If you buy the books and they don't help you to solve any problems, then that's a serious problem because your money has been wasted. I wouldn't care if I was charging just $5 for them, or $2 or 15 cents. Anything that you pick up, really, and that's a part of the code, anything that you do that doesn't help you to solve your problem, you shouldn't be doing it. Anything that anybody recommends that you do, and it makes more problems than it solves, you shouldn't be doing it. That's not logical. Black people have problems, and every move that we make should be in problem-solving mode. You can get the book by going to producejustice.com. Hopefully, it will help you, quote, unquote, solve problems that you have as an individual.
Okay. All righty. One of my investigators, Rip Dog, had this, says this. The Supreme Court, Mr. Fuller, says that police generally need a search warrant if they want to track criminal suspects' movements by collecting information about where they use their cell phones. The justices in a 5-4 decision Friday is a victory for privacy in the digital, in the digital age. Police collection of cell phone tower information has become an important tool in criminal investigation. The outcome marks a big change in how police can obtain phone records. Authorities can go to the cell phone company and obtain information excuse me, about the numbers dialed from a home telephone without presenting a warrant. Mr. Fuller, what does generally mean in the context of this decision? Do they only suspect you may be a criminal?
I don't know. But I do say what the code says. The code, according to what I've written, the counter-racist code says, first thing, when you get up in the morning, go to bed at night, consider yourself each and every day, each and every minute of each and every day, if you're classified as black and or non-white, a prisoner of war. not a potential prisoner of war. You're already a prisoner of war. A prisoner of war against non-white people by the white supremacists. You're already a captive prisoner. So anything you say on your telephone or in your prison cell, consider that as being public knowledge. Anytime you're on your cell phone saying anything to anybody, consider yourself talking to the whole world, because you just might be. Certainly, if the white supremacists want to know what you're saying, just put two and two together. Where'd you get that cell phone? Do you know anything about what's in that cell phone? Really? Except it performs magic? Oh, it's magic. But it's also science. And it came from somewhere. Somebody put that in your hand. Now, in the system of white supremacy, if you're a person of color and you have something in your hand, in your cell block, in your prison uniform, which is your skin, that's your prison uniform. That's how you're identified. And somehow, directly or indirectly, the prison masters put something in your hand that you can communicate with people all over the world. Shouldn't you not assume that whatever you are saying, they hear it? You should assume that.
Yes.
At all times. And even if you're sitting in what you call your secure living room, okay, and you say something to somebody, be prepared to say it again, because you just might be asked, did you say it? Because somebody could have heard you, and most likely, if they want to, they can. You must assume that. Walking in the woods and you're talking to the birds, you can assume that the white supremacists know everything you said to those birds. And you'll say, man, how did they do that? That's magic. The white supremacists are magic. White magic is superior to black magic in the system of white supremacy. You can count on that.
Wow, that's a bold statement there. Wow. Okay. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call to have Mr. Fuller address your questions. Our topic today is an excerpt by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. It was entitled, or is entitled, Why Interracial Relationships Are Promoted So Heavily. But as our custom is, you may discuss any topic that you will like and have Mr. Fuller address it. This comes from Yatora. Says this. Says, I will try to make this concise and clear. Mr. Fuller, I have discussions on racism with my peers. They're usually in their late 20s. The common conclusion I get is that a, quote, perfect or utopian, end of quote, world is not realistic where there is balance amongst people. They always say people naturally will divide, or the strongest or the smartest will prevail, and that's the way it should be. It's survival of the fittest concept. They always use the animals as an example that this is just a natural thing. Mr. Fuller, what are your thoughts on this? Is this logical rationale? Also, I've noticed that through books, TV, movies, and other forms of storytelling, people have been conditioned to think balance between people will never work. For example, the movie book, The Giver, the whole message of that book is that there is a society where there is balance and people are most constructive. But in the end, those type of societies never sustain. Mr. Fuller, have you noticed that they put effort into getting people to believe that a balanced society is not sustainable? Thank you for your answers.
Well, I'll put it this way. If I am a slave master, I will always tell my slaves that slavery is the best possible thing that you could possibly have. That being a slave is the most wonderful thing that you can be. Remain that way. children. You children just remain slaves for me at all times, because there is no better system than slavery. I mean, you haven't experienced it, so why would you think that it could exist? I mean, you can't do that. How are you going to get anything done? It's been found out by trial and error that mistreating people is something that has to be done in order to have a society on the planet that is called Earth. The Earth is arranged in such a way that there's no way to get things done without mistreating people. That's the white supremacist philosophy. And they'll openly say that. And I'm saying, I don't believe it. Now, it's just a matter of choice whether or not you want to believe that a system of justice would not work or could not exist, where you guarantee that nobody's mistreated and you guarantee that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help, because that's what justice is, according to what I've written. I made up that definition, all right, because there is no legal definition for the word justice. I found that out in 1994. I didn't know that before then. There's no real definition for the word justice. So I made up one. But everything is made up that gets done. Before somebody made up the idea of, hey, I think I'll invent something called a computer. And they say, well, that's never been done. What's a computer? What are you talking about? What's a computer? I mean, you can't do that. I mean, have something, instant calculations? No, calculations take, hundreds of years to calculate something. You can't do it in a few seconds and whatnot. That just can't be done. Airplanes. Oh, you're going to fly through the air and you ain't got no wings. I mean, you wasn't born with no wings. And you try to put some wings on that body of yours and see how that works, all right? Somebody said that at one time, but somebody said, hey, you know what? You keep saying that, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to figure out how I can fly over that mountain rather than take 300 days to get over that mountain. I mean, and probably die trying to do it. I can fly over it in a few minutes. I think I can do it, okay? Now, somebody finally did it, okay? There's an old expression saying what? Be careful what you say can't be done, because some damn fool will come along and do it. And right now, as we talk, I'm on a phone. I don't know anything about how a phone really works. But somebody thought it up, that I can talk to somebody hundreds of miles away.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I mean, a couple of 100 years ago, that was unheard of. I mean, you really have to be a real smoke signal sender and make sure that the wind is blowing correctly to send a smoke signal, maybe, and get the correct message before the smoke dissipates.
Yes.
All right? So you send somebody a message 100 miles or 50 miles or even 10 miles. I mean, you better do a whole lot of walking if you want to get that message there, because you have to talk to them.
Right. We got to leave it there for the first
right.
hour. Thank you for the pleasure of your time. Talk to him at radio.com, the world's greatest radio, radio the way it should be heard. Stay tuned for the second hour.
Thanks for listening to the
Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest, and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTamitRadio.com.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTamitRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Well, welcome again to the second hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTamitRadio.com. This is what we call the Donate Hour, and I believe somewhere within this hour we will have a special announcement. The donation is for the second hour only, so let's make that clear. The first hour is already covered, but it's the second hour for those who wanted to know that. Now, to get in contact with the show, you may call 1-877-932-9766. You can also, if you would like, you can watch the show by going to the YouTube channel and typing in the word Talktainment. Hit the space bar and type in the word radio. Scroll down to Talktainment number 2 live on YouTube, where you can watch the live broadcast with all the graphics and all the things that they put up on the screen. You can watch that there. And while you're there, hit the subscribe and also the like button. And let's see here. You can do this. This is the preferred way that we would like for you to do it. In addition to calling, you can go to the TalkTamitRadio.com homepage and make sure that you hit Listen Live. Hit that bad boy, and then podcasts will be available. And then you can also scroll down to Wednesdays and see where Mr. Fuller's program comes on, and you can download it if you'd like. And if you miss any of it, you can also do it at 10 p.m. tonight, the live rebroadcast, or rather the rebroadcast of today's program. Our topic today has been an excerpt by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. We will not play that in this second hour, but it was taken from her speech on, or talk on, why interracial relationships are so heavily promoted. I personally have noticed a lot of commercials by major corporations. Even last evening, as I was preparing for today's program, the AMA, the American Medical Association, or the Heart People, had a interracial couple, a white man and a black woman, and biracial children in there, and there seems to be a lot of that. And Dr. Welsing indicated that they are using this for a more sinister purpose, and Mr. Fuller explained that. If you didn't hear that, you can hear more of that in the on the first hour of the program, if you go back and get that. Okay, so here we are at this point. I was going to read this email, but okay, I will read this. This is from Brother Thomas. He says this. Apparently, there must have been some apology made, but he said, Mr. Fuller, once again, we have a false flag apology for slavery from the white supremacists, or from whites, this time in Charleston, South Carolina. Now, I don't know if that's related to the deaths that occurred at Mother Emanuel Church in South Carolina, where Dylan Roof was caught. Anyway, he says, I have a point and a question. First, an apology has 3 components to it. Number 1, sincere regret in a formal apology. Number 2, restitution for the crimes. And number 3, ensuring via policy that it never happens again. Whites do not do any of these 3. So on to my question, Mr. Fuller. Why do whites keep making false apologies? Is it their way to avoid making restitution because they think we will settle for their empty gestures? They cannot be sorry for a crime they continue to commit on a daily basis. Mr. Fuller?
Well, according to the code, everything that a white supremacist does, I can't say this enough, because it's true, everything that a white supremacist does is to give strength to the system of white supremacy. You should always suspect that. You should always suspect that without, no matter how it looks on the surface. I mean, and using the word apology, I mean, white supremacists will refuse to apologize, or they will give you a ton of apologies. It depends on whether or not it will give strength to the system of white supremacy. If they'll say, well, we have been doing this, and we have been doing that, and we've been doing the other, and so the black people have been begging for an apology, all right? And we have been withholding our apologies, all right? Well, if they're doing it, if it's a white supremacist doing it, that's a strategy. And the strategy may be, I don't know for sure, but whatever they do is to give greater strength to the system of white supremacy. They don't do anything unless they are figured in advance that white supremacy, the system of white supremacy, is going to be made stronger. See, they keep that in mind anytime they make any kind of move in any area of activity at any time, anywhere on the planet. So, if they're withholding apologies, it's because they have figured out in advance, oh, we'll withhold apologies because that's what they say that they want. So we'll withhold these apologies. And then after 10 years, we will say, you know what? We're not going to withhold apologies anymore. We're going to apologize. What do you want us to apologize for? And we present them with a list after 10 or 15 or 200 years of withholding apologies. Then they'll say, all of a sudden, Eureka, we have changed. We are not going to we are no longer going to withhold apologies to you people. So we have decided that we're going to go through everything that we ever did, and we're going to apologize for maybe 10% of it, and then we'll argue about that for another 100 years, and then they'll decide, well, let's make it 50%. That's after another 200 years, and then after maybe 500 years, they'll say, hey, we're really going to go for broke this time. We're serious this time. We apologize for everything. That's 300 years later. See, because they figure that black people are incremental people. See, you know, white supremacists believe in coming in and making a clean sweep first time around. Black people believe in, you know, what they call the word, an excuse expression, but it is a word, and I hope I'm not getting too close to that other word, but they call it being niggardly, meaning approaching everything just step by baby step.
Did you say niggardly?
Yes, that's what that word means.
Okay.
In the dictionary, it means inching up on things. Can't accomplish anything except just by inches. When the white supremacists do everything, you know, they jump millions of miles ahead in one leap. All right, that's the way they believe in doing things. They move. I mean, when they get ready to move, they move. Okay, they'll do something that usually takes the average person, non-white person, you know, 1,500 years to do. They do it in 5 minutes.
Okay.
See, that's the way the white supremacists move. See, they allow black people to move fast on a basketball court, but once they leave the court, everything slows down.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he better not speed. He better not go 5 miles over the speed limit. All right. You know,
Okay.
In other words, he's got to inch up on everything, and that includes when it comes to getting just an apology.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're going to give you an apology, but let's see now. Hey, Will, when are we going to apologize to these people? Well, hey, they are very slow people. They believe in doing everything slow. I mean, you know, except, you know, when they're talking, they talk fast, but they're not going nowhere.
We're playing basketball.
We'll give them an apology, say 100 years from now, and they'll be very grateful because they finally arrived.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's pretty good. We're playing basketball. Okay. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call to get in contact with the show and have Mr. Fuller answer or address your concerns. This comes from Brother Thompson, Mr. Fuller. A little math here, but it's really simple. He says, just wanted to make a comment, Mr. Fuller. I noticed that you call your book the Compensatory Concept Code, and it's about eliminating or at least dealing with racism to produce a system of justice. The initials of the book title are CCC. Now, in numerology, that is 333, or you could view it as 369, adding left to right. 369 is the fundamental number of the universe. Nikola Tesla agreed as well, although Europeans always take credit for things we have already done. Mr. Fuller is always talking about universal man and universal woman, and it is encoded into the title of his book, whether he is consciously aware of it or not. Now, conversely, look at KKK. That is 11 plus 11 plus 11, which equals 33. It is European Freemasonry that have the world enslaved using black magic. 33 is one degree above freezing. So this is how they claim their power. They have us frozen, but they are thawed so they can flow while we are petrified. Hence, they control the flow of currency. KKK is all about white rage and killing people of color because, like Dr. Welsing said, they fear genetic annihilations. Those are basically the same numbers, but look at the black psyche versus the white psyche. We build and unify. They destroy and divide. Mr. Fuller, are we all out of Africa? No. They are out of the test tubes. Mr. Fuller, what say you to this? I know it's under VGQ, and he did point this out, but what say you to this?
Well, I didn't have in mind the CCC being like that. I just was given a title to what I was trying to do.
Yes, sir.
Have a counter-racist code. So that's how that worked out. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't orchestrate that at all. I didn't even have that in mind that what they're talking about, nor was I aware of it. And I'm only aware of it now.
Yes.
That I've been told that, that in numerology they have figured it out that way.
Yes, sir.
So that comes under VGQ. That's something that I learned just now.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that in mind. It just happenstance, I guess. Or because I'm trying to tap into the logic of the universe.
Yes.
In every move that I make. Because I figured out the only way we'll get anything done is by using logic. The logic that came with the universe. That's why I say that you shouldn't have what you call leaders in the form of people.
Yes.
Our leadership should come from following the logic that was put into the universe by the creator of the universe. That makes sense to me.
Yes.
Which means that's more individualized, because you might wind up just being the only person left on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something could happen. All of a sudden, you're the only person left on the planet. Now, what are you going to do? Who are you going to follow now? You're going to follow the logic that came with the universe. I mean, you'll have to go by what's going on around you and figure out what everything means, how to get food, how to get shelter, if you need food or shelter.
Yes, sir.
Anything that you need, you're going to have to figure out how to get it, like the first person that was on the planet, all right? And so that means that messages will come to you as to how to go about doing that. And these messages will follow the laws of what? Logic.
Logic.
Cause and effect. That's all logic is.
All righty. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number 3, you need to turn your radio down, but you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go ahead with your question.
Oh, hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Mm-hmm.
My question, Mr. Fuller, is if he could explain a time when he was called the N-word, and I know he qualified and didn't say anything, but just different examples of times he was called that and what he was able to do.
Mr. Fuller?
I didn't get the question.
Okay, sir, could you speak clearly so Mr. Fuller can hear? He didn't hear you, so could you repeat that?
I was wondering if Mr. Fuller could talk about some experiences that he had where he was called the N-word and how he, I know he didn't respond to it, but just different times that happened to him.
Okay.
In the past.
Oh, I've never been called that directly. I was called Sunshine by,
What?
Yeah.
Sunshine.
When I was around, I guess I was around 12 years old, and I was walking by the YMCA, the white YMCA, Young Men's Christian Association, in Muskogee, Oklahoma, on Main Street, and back in the early 1940s, I think. And so white boys came out of the Young Men's Christian Association building for white folks and started throwing rocks at me and singing the song, "You Are My Sunshine."
Ooh, wow.
And so, but I expected that. And see, that's another thing. I guess I started being codified at a very, very young age. It didn't really bother me, because I expected it. That's why it didn't bother me. I said, hey, those are white boys throwing rocks at me. That's what they do. That's what they're supposed to do. I'm in their system. I'm in their slave system. I'm in the system. I didn't have it all in my mind at that age, a thing called white supremacy, but I fully understood what it meant. And it means they're hostile toward me. They're supposed to be. That's the way I took it. I just got out of range of the rocks.
So you didn't fuss, fight, or flee?
I didn't fuss, fight. I just, I tried to dodge the rocks, which I did. They didn't hit me.
Okay.
And finally they gave up. They ran out of rocks, and I put a little distance between me and them. I didn't run because I was already too far away for most of the rocks to hit me anyway. But I made sure that none of the rocks hit me, and I just put it in my memory. That's all, and that was it. But as far as being angry or confused or upset, Young Men's Christian Association coming out there throwing rocks at me on a very pretty sunny day. It's in the summertime. All right. They just had their Christian meeting and whatnot, and throwing rocks at that Negro boy, that colored boy.
Coming out of a Christian meeting, huh?
Yes, that's who you come out of there, you come out of there all ready to throw rocks at him. Okay? That's what you're supposed to do. He ain't got no business passing by here. He's interrupting our aesthetics. He's, in other words, he's out of place. He's not supposed to be nowhere around here. All right? What is he doing walking around on my planet? Get out of sight. That thing, that animal, that creature. Okay? All right, I'll throw something at you. If I got a gun, I'll shoot you right here. On a sunny day. That's what he's supposed to do. I'm in their prison. So that's the way I looked at it. And I hope that I'm answering the question. A whole lot of questions might be in millions of people's minds, because that hasn't changed.
Yes, sir.
See, when you get shot at or anything like that, don't start getting a question mark over your head. You say, hey, I'm a prisoner of war. They shoot at prisoners of war. I'm in the system of white supremacy. I'm not even supposed to be breathing. Black while breathing while black. That's a crime. Wake up, folks, and smell the coffee. That is a crime. That's a criminal act. You're black in the form of a person, and you're actually breathing? No, not around here. Not around here. The only reason you can be black around here, and you better not be breathing. You can be one or the other.
Okay.
All right. That's white supremacist philosophy.
All righty. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number 2. You are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Dr. Fuller. I was thinking about all these brown-skinned people down in Mexico trying to come to America with the babies and luggage in their hands, and they're doing the same thing over in Africa, trying to go up into Europe. And I thought about what you said about brown-skinned people. They don't want to live around all the misery around their own people because there's nothing but suffering going on. But if they could just find them some white people, then they know they're going to get some food and clothes and everything else they need. So what's your comment about that?
Welcome to the system of white supremacy. The white supremacists orchestrated that. The people who are coming across the so-called borders, any borders, anywhere, that's the white supremacists who are chasing them across the borders. See, wherever those people came from, they say they are fleeing poverty, they are fleeing war, they are fleeing anything. The white supremacists are the persons who have started whatever it is they're running from. And the white supremacists have also set up the borders, saying that they are coming across them illegally. And the white supremacists will convict them for coming across those borders after seeing to it that they could not stay where they were. See, all that's been generated. Always think of white supremacy as not being in one or two places scattered here and there, and that you run into it every now and then. White supremacy means total supremacy. Mm-hmm. If you're a person of color, you are under the system of white supremacy. I don't care where you are in the known universe. Even if you're in a rocket ship off of this planet, the white supremacists have control of you. Otherwise, you're not going to even be in that rocket ship. If you came up with it on your own, which good luck with that, without them helping you, and you were floating around out there in space, and they didn't have anything to do with it, directly or indirectly, all of a sudden that rocket ship is going to blow up, because they can blow it up. They know how to do that. You're not going to be floating around in their space, 10 trillion miles away from here, if you're a person of color and they didn't authorize you to be there. That's what white supremacy means. See, we use that term loosely. We think that 6 white men, half drunk, with tattoos and swastikas, riding down a road in a pickup truck and shouting the N-word at every dark-skinned person that they pass. And that's what we call white supremacy. That's just a little, a trivial show. That's all that is. White supremacy means exactly what the words say. White is supreme.
Okay.
24/7, all over the planet, if you are a person of color.
If you're a person of color. Okay.
There's no escape.
Let me ask this. So, according to what you just said in relation to the gentleman's question, that this coming across the border, all these people and so forth, is basically a setup. Some people or somebody somewhere asked these 4 questions. What did they want to do? Why did they want to do it? When do they want to do it? And what was the expected result of whatever they planned? So this is all a planned move to do that.
Every bit of it. And all it is, just keep those people, and forgive me for saying, or correct me for saying, Somebody called me on that too. They say, Fuller, you use that term, you know, or I mean. I had a real terrible habit of doing that back in the 1980s, and somebody pointed it out. And I listened to myself on a record, so I just want to interject that.
Oh, okay.
Anytime I do that, correct me, stop that. Because that's very annoying. It's not effective communication. But in answer to the question, white supremacy, if you see anybody crossing any kind of border out of Yemen, people running away from Mexico, El Salvador,
okay,
get them out of those places.
Worldwide.
The white supremacists are the cause of them having to leave where they were.
Okay.
The white supremacists are in total control of where all of these people came from. It's the white supremacists. There's no such thing as any Mexican government that the white supremacists don't have absolute control over. The white supremacists own everything.
So that means they could stop this anytime that they wanted to stop it, but they don't.
The white supremacists cause people to move from one place to another.
I got that.
And then pretend that it's somebody else.
Yes. You hit it right on the head, Mr. Fuller. Line number 2. All right, line number 2. You are on, Mr. Fuller. It's hot. Go ahead with your question.
Mr. Fuller, throughout her book, The ISIS Papers, The Keys to the Colors, Dr. Frances Cress Wilson theorized that the basis and origin of the global system of white supremacy was an unconscious and conscious reactionary response to people who classified themselves as being white, to the perceived threat of being genetically annihilated by people who they classified as being non-white. If Dr. Welson's theoretical analysis of the dynamic of racism is correct, is it both reasonable and logical for the victims of racism to ever expect racists to demonstrate a genuine desire to remove the system of racism and replace it with the system of justice as defined by you? If you say yes, why do you think so? And if you say no, why do you not think so?
I say it could be.
Why?
See, I don't know. All I know is that the system of race. Now, this is what I know. Dr. Wilson speaks from the standpoint of history and of science and genetics. I don't get in so much into that because I don't know anything about it. All right? I just know what the results of white supremacy have been, and that is people get mistreated. That's all I look for. Are people being mistreated? I don't care how people are being mistreated. I just want to know, are people being mistreated? Because that's the only thing that's really important. What the reason is, I mean, I'll get to that in order to stop the mistreatment, okay? So if that turns out to be the reason, then we work on that. But I'm saying all I have done, and the only part that I can deal with in answer to the question, is what do you do about it? When a person, you're looking at a person being mistreated, or you are being mistreated, you got to do something, or you should do something. You're being mistreated. Once you identify it as mistreatment, then you figure out the best possible thing that you can do in the circumstances that you're in on a minute-by-minute, day-by-day basis. Now, the general umbrella that caused all of this, you know, that what the white supremacist's ultimate motive is that you may not even be aware of even. I mean, well, I have my own theories that they just set up something that's very convenient for them, all right, to mistreat people and get over in order to do what? Have what everybody wants. Fun, glory, and material comfort. All creatures want that. Squirrels want that. Birds, fun, glory, material comfort. 1, 2, 3. The white supremacists figured out a way to get that by mistreating people based on color. That's the way I look at it. And I say that should be stopped. And you should have a system for stopping it. And the system should be engineered by the people who are the victims of it. Now, the motivation for doing it, genetic annihilation among white people, that could be. See, I don't discount that. That's my reaction to that, Dr. Welson's theory. That's Dr. Welson's theory. She said she had a theory of why white people do what they do. All right? And she presented that in her speeches and in her written works. I've always said I don't know enough about it to make an intelligent conversation about why they do it.
Okay.
I just dealt with the part of what to do about it as a victim.
Okay.
So you can put the two together and work from there, or you can just go with the singular thing of what I've suggested.
Right.
But, you know, all a combination of both or whatever.
Okay. TalkToHimRadio.com. Last week, Mr. Fuller, there was a comment made about these cameras in New York. I believe they're called stop and frisk cameras. Policemen, or I should say race soldiers, because there is a difference between being a policeman and a race soldier. By the way, could you explain that difference between a policeman and a race soldier?
Yes, for years, people have used the term police brutality. And then we get on the phone and call the police. Now, you're going to call brutal people to solve your problems? So you have to make a clear distinction between a police officer and a suspected race soldier. Now, they'll wear the same uniform in many instances, giving the illusion of being a police officer. But that's a contradiction. A police officer is never brutal. A police officer is polite. A police officer protects and serves. That's what a police officer does. But in a system of white supremacy, you have imposters. You have race soldiers pretending to be police officers. They'll wear the uniform of a police officer, but their real uniform is the issue of race. White, non-white. These are the categories. And that blue doesn't really exist, except that's just some cloth that is on this race soldier. But this race soldier is dedicated to one thing, racism, and everything that goes with it. And many people who are wearing a uniform of a police officer are, and I had to make up this term, are really race soldiers. But you can't really even call them that. You say suspected race soldiers. Suspected by whom? By whomever is doing the suspecting. So we should get in the habit of saying, I think this guy that responded to this call may have been a race soldier, not a police officer. I called the police, and what I got was a race soldier. And that's why those 5 people were shot in the back, all right, because I suspected that person was a race soldier. A investigation will probably, I hope, prove me to be correct if he did that and it was an illegal act. If he did anything illegal, most likely that was a race soldier, and if it was a person of color, that was a person acting on behalf of the race soldiers.
Okay.
Which the person of color would have to do anyway.
All right.
All right?
Now,
so you always blame the white supremacists for all of these incidents, but the one who is armed and wearing what you call a law enforcement uniform always suspect that among the bunch, not all of them, not most of them, but among them, always suspect that there are some race soldiers that are going to do great damage. All right?
Okay.
Always suspect that.
All right. Well, this statement here, now, and I'm trying to, particularly, and I love that explanation that you just gave, but it says here that the New York City police have reportedly replaced their unconstitutional stop and frisk practice with another one rooted in racial bias. Now, let me stop here. Now, you gave the definition of a police soldier, and you clearly distinguished that with that. With
police officer.
Yeah, police officer. Okay, police officers. Okay, now, would police officers need to have the need to replace their unconditional stop and frisk with another one, which are these cameras, or is that for the race or suspected race soldiers?
Well, if anything is done that shouldn't be done, that's a suspected race soldier doing it, or someone acting in behalf of suspected race soldiers.
Okay.
All right. We're in a prison. All right. And so these are race soldiers. I mean, all the guards in a prison are race soldiers if they have racial intent or supporting racism. Of course, it's very difficult to not support racism. But if you are doing it deliberately and you're white, you are a suspected race soldier, all right? If you're non-white, well, you're just a prisoner that's been given what they call trustee status, and you go around doing things that you're assigned to do because you're afraid not to do it, all right? So that's all that is.
Okay.
And whatever laws are made, if they in any way support the system of white supremacy, then the people who made the laws are to blame.
Okay.
And it's the white supremacists that always make the laws in a white supremacist system.
Yeah, we got that. Okay. Yeah, right. and that's correct. Okay, now, they call this predictive policing, focused on law enforcement protocol to identify areas of criminal activity before crimes are committed. And I guess this is because it has made its way for gang database and surveillance program targeting people of color that have been referred to as stop and frisk number 2. Now, a suspected race soldier would use this technology, but a police officer would not do this? I'm asking.
Well, a police officer will not do that if that is what you call the most constructive result. See, it's all about results. If what is being done is something that shouldn't be done, then all you can really do is just say that whomever is in charge, and the white supremacists presumably always in charge of all of the affairs of non-white people 24/7 on the planet. We are in their prison, so it doesn't make any difference. You just say, you know, who comes and does the work. You just say it's the white supremacists.
Okay.
It's something that shouldn't happen. So here's what. See, we get to the practicality. The way I would handle that with somebody coming and saying, hey, the law says I stop you and frisk you anytime I see you, 12 times a day if necessary. I'll just say those are the prison rules.
Okay.
And the prison rules are all made by white supremacists.
Right.
That's it. Just like Gandhi said, I mean, in the movie Gandhi, he said, I don't pay any attention to General Dyer. He came out there and killed over 1,000 people, including babies and whatnot. I mean, with his soldiers. He's a white man, and he did that in just a matter of a few minutes, over 1,000 people, like it showed in that movie. That actually was based on something that actually happened.
Yes.
And Gandhi, in his reaction to it, when people say, well, what do you think about this, Gandhi? He said, well, hey, I'm not thinking about that general, Dyer, Edmund Dyer, who was in charge of the group that did it. I'm talking about the entire system. And that's when he told the viceroy, he said, you wasn't there, and I wasn't there when it happened, but it did happen, and, you know, one of your soldiers did it, but I'm not here to talk about doing something against the soldier. That general who was in charge, General Dyer, a white general, killing all these brown-skinned people, dark people, black people here in India. I didn't come here to discuss that. I came here to discuss your entire system. It's time you all get out of here.
Okay.
All of you. That's what he said at the table.
At the table. Okay.
Yeah, that's a very important part of that movie. People should see that movie, Gandhi. He said, it's time you left. He said, because, you know, me that's coming in here talking about the latest incident, y'all going to be doing this forever, just like you have done it forever. So I don't come in here on an incident basis. I came here to tell you how to change the whole system, and changing the whole system means y'all get out of here, all you, including you. All you people that make the laws and everything, all of you. Clear house right now. You know, that's the way you handle stuff. And that's the codified approach, too.
Okay.
Hey, I'm no, you know, running around trying to find out which race soldier, which white person in a uniform is a racist. I mean, we'll wear ourselves out forever trying to do that. I mean, let's go for the jugular. Say, look, change the whole system. All of you people, every last one of you, people we sit next to on the bus, change your behavior. And that's the only way to change this entire system, because you got a system in place. And that system is on automatic.
Okay. All righty. It is now time for the section of the program in the remaining moments that we have for you, Mr. Fuller, to discuss your book. How can we get the book? Is the book available overseas? Any related information that you if you want to share with us. Go ahead, please.
Well, first of all, I'll address the overseas shipments and whatnot. I don't know how that's going to work out with the new so-called tariffs.
Oh,
We got another word on the board now called tariffs. So now that will affect how I can go about selling books in different parts of the world, other than what they call, quote, unquote, the continental United States. But basically, you go to producejustice.com. That's the only website that I have for getting the book. I don't have any other website other than that. ProduceJustice.com. If you want to get the book, that's the site to go to. I understand there are some other people selling books out here. I mean, on the side, some of them charging as much as $200. I've heard that. But go to ProduceJustice.com in order to get the basic book and the edition, which is the additional word guide. But most people just get the basic book, which I say is adequate. And go to ProduceJustice.com. The ingredients in this book is addressed to people who perceive themselves as being victims of white supremacy. Because I say that's the only, I could be in error, but I say that's the only real government on the planet called Earth. There is no other government other than the system of white supremacy. There's no American government, no Venezuelan government, no Guatemalan government, no Mexican government, no Arab government. There's one government on the planet called Earth, according to what I have written, whether you agree with it or not. And that government, in capital letters, has a title. The title of that government is called, according to what I have written, and what my book is addressed to, the system of white supremacy, and that government should be replaced by the system, in capital letters, the system of justice. That's what this writing is all about. It's not about anything else other than that you can't solve any major problem on this planet without replacing the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. And it can be done, in my opinion, through the efforts of individual persons speaking and acting in a codified way in every area of activity, a person of color, wherever they happen to be on the planet. That's how I have tried to write a book that would help bring that about. The replacement, the entire replacement, in a very short period of time, if it's actually done by individual victims of racism. That's the theory. I haven't proven it yet. It'll only be proven when it's actually done. But I say, if that is done, if the individual victim of racism, people classified as non-white, will just do most of the things recommended in this book as best they can, wherever they happen to be on the planet, on a daily, minute-by-minute basis, then the system of white supremacy will be eroded. It will no longer exist because the white supremacists will not be able to function. The book is directed toward getting this done and getting it done swiftly. And in my opinion, it's the only way that it can be done, which is why it hasn't been done before.
Yes.
So I say the book should be unique. I intend for it to be unique in that regard.
Okay.
I'm actually saying this is the only way to go. It has to be addressed to individual persons doing and not doing, because everything is about doing and not doing certain things in whatever environment they find themselves in the prison system called the prison system of white supremacy.
Yes, sir.
And you go to it and get it by going to ProduceJustice.com.
All righty, ProduceJustice.com. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call to get in contact with the show in the remaining moments of the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and yours truly, Mr. Bobby, as co-host. Mr. Fuller, you were, I understand, born in Oklahoma, and this has been on a previous show down the way where a question was asked to you about Black Wall Street. A documentary is being filmed by Brenda Webb, who brings charges or against the United States government. The film is to expose the U.S. government's destruction of Black Wall Street. It's called a Betrayal of a Nation. Have you seen this film?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
And I would intend to see it if whenever it comes out and all like that. I'm very interested in things like that. But I'm hoping that the people who did the research do accurate research, because I've heard all kinds of stories about Black Wall Street, some of which I'm going to say this now. Some of these stories I don't believe, all right, and some of them I do. But I would like to get a complete, accurate picture, because all of history, in my opinion, is greatly distorted.
Yes.
I believe that even when people write autobiographies, there's a lot of what they write is not true.
Now,
I don't care who it is, simply because you can't know all of the truth about yourself.
Okay.
People do not see things actually the way that they actually happen. So a great deal of what we call history in every history book is false.
Okay. Now,
I have come to that conclusion.
Based on what you have seen since you were born in Oklahoma, where this took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I believe, from what you gather, did it happen after you were born or before you were born?
It happened before I was born.
Okay, so the aftermath, as an observer, as a young lad, what did you see or what did you hear in the aftermath of Black Wall Street? Because you were there.
In the aftermath, being 60 miles away, I heard almost nothing.
What?
Absolutely. Coming up, people would vaguely say something about it. There was a disturbance just 60 miles away a few years ago. And, a lot of black people were killed and their businesses burned down. And that's about all that somebody would say. And the conversation would end. In fact, it wouldn't be a conversation. It was no long, drawn out, nothing at no time. It was like it never happened for the most part. I heard more about it after I left Oklahoma than I did when I was in Oklahoma. So in my travels down through the years, I found out that was true in a lot of places, like East St. Louis, Illinois. I mean, I had heard just rumors that terrible things had happened there at one time.
Still happening.
East St. Louis, Illinois. All kinds of stories and just about that one place. I mean, probably people who are right there in East St. Louis, Illinois right now do not know that the ground that they are walking on, a lot of black people here in 2018 probably do not know some of the things that I have heard that happened in East St. Louis, Illinois, down through the entire history of East St. Louis, Illinois, are just terrible, 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 terrible things that people just simply don't talk about. They don't pass it on. But there are some people long dead who knew about these things, who witnessed these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there are a lot of places like that. In fact, I think that the whole history of lynching will never be told. Even in the African American Museum, I don't think that they'll even scratch the surface of the horrible things that happened. And not to mention slavery. I don't think it's even possible to even know how terrible that was. And particularly the Mid-Atlantic crossing. All those dozens and dozens and dozens of years and hundreds of ships back and forth. I don't think that story will ever be told. I don't care how thick the book is or how many archives. They can build tons of libraries trying to tell that story and not even scratch the surface of how horrible all of that really was. And when I think about it, I mean, just a little bit that we do know, just my logic, the logic, not my logic, but the logic tells me that there's no way to tell about how horrible all of that was. And when you get to something like Black Wall Street in Tulsa, that is just a small part of a great big story, no matter how much research is done. It is my belief that it doesn't even begin to scratch the surface, not to say anything about scratching the surface, to tell how things really were, all of the horrors that went on, all of the incidents that happened on little country roads and all like that every day. I don't think it will ever be told.
Okay, so do you get the opinion, because this is what I'm feeling, that what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the so-called Black Wall Street, that this could have been a common practice all across the so-called United States? You just mentioned East St. Louis, Illinois, but I've also heard stories about Rosewood, Florida. And I'm beginning to think that this practice, and I'm asking you this question, I know you don't really know, but do you think that this could be a common practice among the white supremacists all across this so-called continental United States?
Looking at it worldwide, I just say that everywhere that black people were. I mean, the Congo under King Leopold.
Gotcha.
Just scratching the surface. Say that, hey, you don't even have to go into details. Just, I mean, the first 5 minutes are talking about what King Leopold alone. Not anything about what's happening now.
Okay, got to leave it there. Thank you so much, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, people, for the pleasure of your time. Talk to him at radio.